This is what I know to be true so far, the show that inspires you to awaken the magic within and step into your most authentic life. I'm Kerry-Ann McKenzie, a multi-passionate spiritual mentor, magic maker, nature energy alchemist, and creator of the Rebellion of Love. If you're ready to experience self-liberation and create a life entirely on your terms, this is the show for you. I'm so grateful to have you with me on this journey to awakening the magic within with what I know to be true so far. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to say hello and welcome, Justine, but that's not the case anymore. And so if I get this wrong, just correct me. Inanna.
Perfect.
Amazing. So welcome to the show, Inanna, and thank you so much for being here. You are one of the most incredible human beings and have been a huge person who's played pivotal, I would say, influence in my progression in my spirituality and also my authenticity going back to 2020. I think that's when we met in the lockdown stuff, maybe around that. Yeah. So are you able to let my audience know who you are, the kind of work you do, and then maybe a little bit about how we know each other as well?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kerry. And I just am honored and excited to be here and have this chat. So you mentioned my name, Justine, which is my birth name, but I have recently changed my professional name to Inanna because I embodied that version of myself, my higher consciousness. I met her over many years and realized that I am her. And it was a really intuitive and right decision to change my name to be her in my professional work. So I'm in that very funky stage of the transition of the name. So it's always a little bit awkward to have these conversations, half Justine, half Inanna, but also nice to be in that bridging process.
I also just feel that you are Inanna as well.
Oh, thank you.
And when I see your face now, I'm like, no, it's that, which is really, I think it's really beautiful to see that name with you.
Yeah, I think when I'm holding space in my community or my clients or just even in these conversations, I just become her and I that's the transmission that I'm channeling and embodied in, and so it just feels really natural. Yeah.
Amazing.
So sorry, what was your questions?
I got
Who I am.
lost in your energy for a second there too. Just dreamingly staring into your eye. Which always happens with that. What is the work that you do in the world and how do we know each other as well?
So we first met, I think it was in 2020, and I think I just randomly came across one of your Instagram posts. And at that time you were running a course on money management. And in that time of my life, my God, I just was like, I loved the work that I did. I was so passionate about the work that I did, but I had no clue how to manage money in my business, had never heard the term like CFO ever before I met you. And so that course came along in that time of my life and it was just so needed. But then obviously we just had this beautiful connection, I just loved learning from you as a teacher, but then we just developed this beautiful friendship. And I think you joined my school as well at the same time. And
because I think I was blending accounting and spirituality. It's my life lesson for sure. I'm always dancing between corporate world and like my magic, and have always like been trying to blend the two. And I think I was blending the two, but I was also burning out because I signed on too many clients because COVID accounting got really popular real quick. And I had two people keeping the accounting clients. I had the program running, and then I started having like rashes, remember? And I like put on heaps of weight. I started getting rashes. I started fainting. All of this stuff was going on. And I felt deeply like that I was out of alignment, that I was doing what I should not be doing. And I joined your community for just some guidance. Like, how can I step fully into my spirituality and all my gifts without having to like have the fear of supporting myself or making a career out of it, or because I knew that was the work I was supposed to do. And I had tree communication as my like main way of expressing my spirituality at the time, but I had no confidence to go out and like live that and teach that and do all of those things.
Mm.
Yeah. And I joined your community because I knew, and also because you were teaching light language, and I started having like big downloads and channels of like, that was my first kind of like massive transmission that I had. And not only light language, but like seeing energy and playing with energy. And like, and then I was like sending you videos like, "Oh, this hand movement and all these words coming out of my mouth, help me. Like, we understand what this is. And you made me feel really normal about all of that. And so I'm so grateful for that. And I think that's something you do so beautifully, is that you take the mystical things and you put them into like practical language that helps us understand how to put it into our 3D reality everyday practice.
I'm just remembering some of those like messages that we would send back and forth in those days. And it was like you were having these light language experiences that I think were awakening because you were in my energy, in my world. And I was having these for the first time in my life, these full on like tree communication experiences just happening out and about. And so I was messaging you going, oh my God, a tree just spoke to me. Like it actually spoke to me. And you're like, yeah, it happens all the time. And so I felt like we were just activating each other.
100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it felt like. Yeah. And can you tell my audience what kind of work do you do in the world now? And how can you explain a little bit about the different kind of layers and levels? I know before we got on this call, we were kind of chatting about the different levels,
Mm.
fields in which we can play and communicate with spirit and things like that. So if you could maybe share with my audience the work you do and also a little around what that all means.
I love that. And it probably is, maybe this story is a good place to start because it probably encapsulates a lot of the other things we'll kind of go deeper into, which is the story when I first met Metatron's Council of Light, who I channel. I feel like this was the start of um, the more cosmic multidimensional work. So this was again in 2020. Like, what the hell? So many
So much.
massive things happening that year. So it was March 2020. It was literally the week that COVID was entering Melbourne, where I live. And I was in bed with severe tonsillitis. I'd been in bed for about 2 weeks. I was starting to get better and I could feel that something big was about, sometimes you just feel like energy was shifting and obviously the whole world was shifting, but I could feel it inside of me like something big is about to happen to me. And then in this most mundane moment, like I was really feeling so sick and sorry for myself. And it was just this mundane, shitty moment that this council of light appeared in my room and they presented themselves as 12 pillars of this cosmic white light. Like I saw the light pillars in my room, like they were physically there. And they created this circle and I was the 13th in the circle. And instantly the energy of the room shifted, the energy inside my body. It's like I got transported, like I was still in my room, in my bed, but I was transported to another level of reality.
Mm.
And the experience probably lasted maybe 5 minutes if I had to guess of clock time, but it was like light years of information got downloaded. Some of that information I knew instantly and consciously in that moment, and some information I'm still decoding it and realizing what I was gifted in that moment years down the track through my own kind of other experiences. And so I knew Mother Mary was the pillar closest to my right, and I thought Jesus was next to her, but I had no idea the identities of the other pillars. But I knew that it was just my role to just dedicate myself to their energy. And over time, I would learn each of the council members and who they were and what their unique, like why they were a part of this council, like what their purpose was. And so it actually took me about 2 years beyond that time to like identify and learn each one.
Yeah.
But in that moment, what they showed me was that I had this embodiment for myself personally, but at the exact same time, I knew that it was true for us as a humanity, as a collective. So every single person had what I was experiencing in this moment.
Yeah.
So it showed me that I had this human purpose, like the roles and identities that I had. Like, I know that I'm here to be a mum and a wife and partner. I know that I'm here to be a teacher. That's how my purpose gets channeled into this 3D reality. But I also have a soul purpose, which, I kind of knew that already. And I feel like that's kind of stock standard information if you're into
Yeah.
spirituality. We have a soul purpose. And this resides in our soul star chakra, which is our 5th dimension of consciousness. But then they showed me that we also have a cosmic soul purpose. And so as we're rocking out this human life, this messy, beautiful, chaotic life that is the full spectrum of humanity, we are sharing our purpose on that level. We're sharing our purpose at our soul level, which is a lot more, it sort of infiltrates like humanity and the earth. Like, so it's through sharing our soul purpose, which is a lot more energetic than the physical thing we do. We're assisting the earth in her ascension. We're contributing to the ascension of humanity through the grid of human hearts. But then we have this cosmic purpose. So while we're doing all of these things on the earth, we're actually playing this unbelievably vital and important role on the cosmic level of our reality. And what we do here, and the energy that we embody, and the consciousness that we become inside of this human body, has this profound effect on the cosmic cycle of awakening that's happening.
Yeah.
And I saw and I felt and I experienced all these levels of purpose, and just how insanely vital our role is here on all of these levels. And a deep knowing that we all have these multidimensional purposes, and our mission on the earth is to discover what our multidimensional purpose is, to embody that, and to become the vibration of that consciousness here. And that is ultimately how we are going to fulfill our purpose and our mission here, how we're going to experience the deeper sense of fulfillment, how we're also going to become absolute conscious creators of our reality. Like, it's from this 8D, 8th dimensional portal that we're connecting to for our cosmic purpose. It's that level that makes us, quantum manifestors. We create a reality through our intention and through our vibration.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that it's the pathway to unlock and embody these, there's a lot of words for this, but like our superhuman gifts, like our telepathy and our ability to, see future timelines and know different levels of reality all in the one moment. And, things that the yogis have done for years, like bilocate and, all of that, things that I honestly believe we have the ability to do once we can embody that cosmic level of ourselves.
So amazing.
Take a little breath there, because I feel like you've probably...
No, I'm all over this.
Yeah, I know.
I have questions. Okay, so my first question is really about, first of all, that resonates with me so much because my own personal experience with understanding that there is a purpose on these different levels, but also, I guess, and this is probably links into my question, when we ignore like our purpose, our cosmic purpose, for example, how does that start to show up in our human lives? Because I know for me, I've tried so many times to not be magical because I have like a lot of conditioning around how weird that is. And like, it's not a way to like live in the world. There's even a permission piece around the work I do and being able to do that I've had to like really work through. And so I've danced in like, doing normal work or some form of normal work. But every time I do, I have crazy experiences that bring me back into like, no, this is what you came here for. And this is kind of like the the levels of information that you have been gathering along the way to help you do that. One time it was getting really sick. More recently, it was a very similar story to yours. I was in a meditation and I was taken into a huge, beautiful castle. In that castle, I had a whole group of people that were standing around who all gave me my transmissions, my codes, my gifts. And they're like, this is what you'll need in order to fulfill this mission. And you know this mission because you're the one who picked it. And like, I remember like standing on the edge where I was like coming back to earth and I was saying to them, like, I'm so scared. Like, I'm so scared. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can fulfill this mission. And they all looked at me like, you're the one who picked it. Yourself created it. Yeah. Like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, and I was like laughing in my huge experience. I was like, there's still like humor in like the human, right? Like, because they were like, but you picked it before you went even. We're just like reminding you because you've forgotten or you didn't have the awareness or you've gotten a bit off course or whatever. And so it was really like interesting for me, like having that moment, because then I was like, oh, I can't stuff around anymore. Like I just have to do the magic. I wasn't gifted magic and all these abilities so that I can sit in a little corner making marketing plans for people because that's what my human self is very good at, or making financial projections for different projects because that's what my human brain is good at, you know? And so I think for anyone who has like that inner knowing, like they already sense that there is a cosmic purpose. There is the other, did you say it was the fifth dimension, the other purpose?
So yes, the fifth dimension is your soul star chakra, which holds your soul purpose. Yeah.
So you're either like connected to either like the star or the cosmic, and you kind of have that like inner knowing. Do we have to do anything about it? Will our life lead us to that purpose? Or, you know, is it like something will shock us into it? Or do we need to actively go out and seek it and find it and discover it for ourselves?
I think it's a beautiful mix of everything.
Yeah.
And at different times and in different places where we each are in our lives, we're going to need different things. And it's just ultimately, I think there's a divinity to it all. And so everything, I think, I heard this thing the other day and it was so beautiful and it really shifted my energy. It was like, think of the perfection, the cosmic perfection that needed to unfold for your soul to say yes to come here, to travel and make its way towards Earth, which is probably light years away from where we began. We traveled here. We just knew the direction and the coordinates to get here. We embodied ourselves into this fetus within the mother's womb, this perfect mother that we needed for our karmic and emotional journey on life, whether that, you know, both the light and the shadow, she served that purpose to, you know, fulfill that karmic destiny. The intelligence that our body like we created ourselves inside of our mother's womb, and without any thought or control or overthinking, like we just became this perfect baby. And even if, you know, we were born deaf or something was wrong with us, there's still this perfection to that. And then we're birthed. And it's like we become adults and all of a sudden we think we need to like control our life and pre-plan everything and have everything all worked out. It's like, oh my God, there's this insane perfection that is happening all the time.
Yeah.
But all levels are true because that intelligence is happening all the time, but so is our humanity, and so is our ego and fear and conditioning. And even in these, you know, even in that experience with Metatron's Council of Light, and I've had, you know, countless mystical experiences since that, as I know you have as well. And I'm interested to see if you agree with this. I was present and open, and you know, my spirit self was obviously very activated in all of those experiences. But man, my humanity was along for the ride. My fear, my doubt, my like, am I going crazy? Or fuck, I don't know if I can, like, I'm not worthy of this, all of the things. And I think I've just over time made space for that. So it can be there. Like, it's just not wrong to fuck up or to fall off the path or to get another job, even though our destiny is to have these spiritual things. Like, I feel like I'm I'm at this point, and I think we've had this conversation in the past before, like, I'm just so sick of making myself wrong all the time, whether it's with my spiritual cloak on or my ego cloak on or whatever it is. It just is what it is. And so cycling back to the answer to the question, it's like, yeah, sometimes we just trust and it will unfold. Sometimes life will snap us into gear. Sometimes someone will say one word that just shifts our whole reality and we're just in a different vibration of consciousness. And sometimes you'll kick and scream the whole way there, fighting every minute of it. But that is all like perfect. Like that's just what it is.
Yes. And it's also like, no matter how you come across it or come back to it, and even maybe it's not even in this particular lifetime, like it might take a few times, right? It's okay. Like it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be perfect in any way. And I think we as humans, like we go, you only have this one life. And do we though? Like, is it just this one time to fulfill my entire like mission, And I think that's a lot of pressure that I'm putting on myself to just be able to like change the entire spectrum of how humans think about themselves enough to have compassion and self-love. That's a lot to achieve with one person in one lifetime. And I think it's just like allowing yourself to give yourself a break about it. And saying this honestly to speak to myself, because it's something that I circle back to giving myself a bit of a hard time about, times in my lives. But I mean, also you're a human who has to make money and survive as well. And so sometimes there isn't the space to fulfill all of your missions and jumping and that leaping. We get this told time, like just leap and the universe will catch you. And it's like, do you know when you've got 3 kids and you're a single mom, how freaking hard that is to convince your human brain that
Yeah.
just leaping's going to work out for you? Like it's a really radical, I guess, approach to fulfilling purpose.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many little things like that, I think, encoded in this new age of spirituality and this new age of like, you're a quantum being and you've got you can shift your whole reality in a split second if you're doing it right. Like, and so then we have this pressure and expectation to just have this like, whatever the hell that even means for you, a quantum shift in reality. So then we layer all this pressure onto that. And I just think, man, like I don't know, we just can get ourselves and we can get our knickers in a knot, I think, just trying to be all the things
Yeah.
inside of this new spiritual paradigm. There's again, just
Yeah.
weaved with so much toxicity and not enoughness.
Yeah. And I also think that so much of the spirituality industry, because it is an industry that makes money as well. And that's something to be mindful of. And I'm always reminding people of that, like just be mindful of that, because not everyone has pure, kind hearts. And sometimes the journeys that you get taken on they're not for you. And you've just been cleverly convinced through marketing or, that you need this particular next spiritual thing in order to feel fulfilled and all of that, right? And I think that it's just being mindful, yeah, of like the making yourself wrong for not getting all of it right. And
Yeah.
also like spiritual tool hopping, as I call it.
Yeah.
That can be so addictive that you don't do the shadow work,
Yeah.
right? Because you're just kind of like, this thing will fix me, this thing will fix me, I'll do this, I'll learn this, and I'll do that. And you can use that as a disguise to just avoid the real work that needs to be done, that you need to face within yourself. Yeah, I think it's interesting. And also the word purpose too, right? If our soul has a cosmic purpose and also a star soul purpose, star chakra or star soul, how do you say it?
Soul, star, chakra, but I think all of those are great.
Or your human purpose, like isn't just simply being and existing and going with the flow of everything and responding to all the things around you like a really big part of that anyway? You just naturally are fulfilling at all times anyway.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's the secret that kind of unlocked for me in that moment with the counsel is that it's like how I experienced it was like they sort of picked up all these scattered puzzle pieces that were on the floor that were my purpose, but just scattered, and they picked it all up and they weaved it into this tapestry that made perfect sense to me. And I realized, and this took me actually a little while to put words to, but I realized what they showed me, or what I felt in my body when I saw what they were showing me, was my purpose was a level of consciousness. And with that level of consciousness came with it a natural expression that I would be a teacher of this work and a channel and da 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 da. But those things came from the level of embodied consciousness. So it's a state of being. Our purpose is a state of being, the truth of who we are, and not that it's linear. It's hard to have the conversation without making it linear. But as we go, quote unquote, higher in the dimensions of consciousness, or deeper into ourselves in our dimensions of consciousness, as we go higher, it's really just a refinement of love and a refinement of energy and a refinement of truth, and a letting go of illusion, of fear, of doubt, of shame, of all the things. And so, yeah, that when we talk about higher levels of consciousness, it's really just more love and more truth of who you are.
Yeah. And I think that's why everyone is enjoying so much this piece around like authenticity.
Mm.
And there is like a huge trend of authenticity. I'm right there for it because it's such a huge, like, the idea that you just get to love yourself as is like
Mm.
so authenticity is like a massive thing. But I think that's why it's resonating with so many people at the moment, because everyone's kind of realizing that truth, right? That at the end of the day, I'm just here to absolutely love myself and my human experience, the good, the bad, all of the things. And so if you kind of like someone who is wanting to go into higher states of consciousness, what's your best tips for people exploring it? Um, is it to get a teacher, or is it to like follow a particular kind of path, or it's just individually your own journey into finding what it is that unlocks those new levels? Like what's your idea or your advice around that?
I don't really, in every topic of life, I don't really have any like sets of rules that this is what we should all do and follow. So I definitely feel like everyone has their own unique blueprint inside of them, and how they bring that blueprint out or discover their blueprint will be their own unique path. Some will need a teacher and a really strict, strong lineage that is kind of black and white. Some people will like hop from teacher to teacher, or you just float along, and then they'll just get the little nuggets they need, to bring each little layer out, and then they'll be satisfied with that, and then they'll move on to the next. I think, and people might just love books, and people might have online courses or whatever it is. I think the pathway is always unique. So just staying open and curious to yourself and to what life is bringing you, I think, is a pillar that I think is true for everybody. But I definitely do believe, and this has been a big lesson for me because I haven't always believed this, and I think it's been to my own detriment, is that we can't become ourselves by ourselves. And so I definitely feel like I feel like we're destined to we all hold keys for each other. And so we're destined to meet certain people at certain times that hold one of our keys, and you will hold a key for someone else. So I used to be like, no, I'm a channel, and what I channel has to be pure, and I don't want to be in anyone else's spaces because I feel like it's not my own, and yada, yada, yada. And I think it just made me really lonely, and it made me take a really long time to get things that probably could have happened quicker. So I'm always looking for people to connect with and open me up to the next level of my own truth. And beyond that, I think open and curious, and I think knowing how to build safety in your own body, nervous system, and energy field is, I probably the most important factor in all of this. Build safety first.
Mm,
Everything else comes from safety.
mm. And what does building safety look like? For someone who's not done that work to build that within themselves yet, or maybe don't even know what that term means, like how would you define building safety within yourself, and what can you advise people to do in order to like start the journey of building that safety?
Mm. It's that, like, isn't that an awesome question to ask ourselves? What does safety feel like in my body? And just being really curious, like, imagine we all just set this little experiment for a week and we just checked in with our body when we're in the kitchen, when we're in the supermarket, when we're dropping our kids off at school, when we're in bed with our partner, just check in and going, do I feel safe? And at the start, our answer might be, well, I don't know. What does that even mean? Who knows? Like, what is the answer to that question? But through asking the question and just going in and feeling and being curious, I think we can get so much information from ourselves. And then once we start to get that information, we just hold a space for that. Like, okay, like, and this is true for me. Like, I don't have I'm looking at my kitchen now because I can kind of see it from where I'm sitting. I don't have a strong sense of safety in my kitchen because I have a lot of, like, my relationship with food can be emotional. I've had a lot of like shame around my relationship with food. I use food when I'm like stressed or overwhelmed. And so I'm just thinking for myself in this moment of, like, I'm even thinking after I get off this call, I want to just walk into my kitchen, stand in my kitchen on my own and just be in the kitchen, feeling the level of safety in my body and to my kitchen's to my right, my front garden is to my left. If I imagine standing on my front garden, feet on the earth, birds, my dog's out there at the moment, like checking into my sense of safety in my front garden would be completely different experience to going in my kitchen, like 10 steps away from each other, and yet my body would respond completely differently. So I'm just kind of like using this whole example just coming to my head now as a way of answering the question. But for me, what I would want to do with that information is just to go into the kitchen and just feel that sense of unsafety and go in and be so curious, like, where do I feel unsafe? And can I just hold a space for myself there? Can I bring breath to that area and loving words and compassion? And it's like I'm even putting my hand up on the right hand, like above my right breast, like in that upper chest. And it's like, there's a part of me there that feels unsafe when I think of being in my kitchen. And I would just hold that space and just breathe and let it actually be okay that I'm not safe there. And then through that process, you could probably start to feel, even in your own body or as you imagine it, that things would start to shift from that place.
Yeah, that's massive.
Mm.
Safety for me has been, and I know I mentioned this before we got started on the call, and I was like, man, should have been recording. That was a long explanation.
So good.
Uh, my own inner safety was never formed as a child. And so what happened was I never once felt safe in my body. So not only was I never feeling safe, but also seeking out people, things, and situations and circumstances to continue that mirrored effect of no safety.
Mm.
So much so that even, I put myself in so many dangerous situations as a young adult, teenager, and through my past life of what I experienced in my early 20s, it was always about putting myself in unsafety and not feeling safe, because that's actually what felt very familiar to me. So like finding, even with my ex-husband, and I'm not saying he was a violent person, he wasn't a violent person, but he was very aggravated and agitated and irritated all the time, which made me feel unsafe, but was familiar. So I stayed, and that was just all this really random situations and relationships I constantly put myself in. And then the weird part was that whenever I would actually enter into safety, I would just freak out. Like I would just be freaking out because it was so like unfamiliar to me. And so
Mm.
it was my first point of safety as an adult at 38 years old. And I was so unsure of how to even like handle safety in that because it was a romantic relationship as well. And then I started noticing as well with friendships, I was like, oh, any of my friends or new friends that I meet that feel safe, I very quickly will like distance or not text back or not get back to. And I realized that there's so much avoidance of feeling safe because unsafety felt so familiar for me. And the anxiety that I had as an unsafe person was really high. And so even though I was magical and manifesting and doing these things and meditating and blah, 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 I never had a center of safetyness within myself in any environment. And I would pick the particular environments that would keep me in that overactive state of feeling unsafe all the time because of the familiarities.
Mm.
I went through my own journey of like, I guess it was a catastrophic thing that had to happen that shocked me out of it, right? Where I really like delved into all of my shadow and why I didn't want safety, but uh, was trying to create it through controlling my environments, like all these things, these weird things, right? For anyone who has a similar experience where they've never actually developed any kind of safety at all, so they have no baseline. So even if they were to step into a garden, they would still be on high alert, right? Like, when is that person coming out of that bush to
Mm.
catch me? Like, there's no level of safety. Like, what can those kinds of people do?
Yeah. And I think your stories, I mean, I don't know anyone on the planet who wouldn't resonate on some level with your story. I think we are just like chronically unsafe in our bodies and we don't even actually know. So I think it's number one, really important to normalize, because I can't imagine anyone listening to this and going, oh, I've never felt that in my life or whatever. So I think just normalizing it and know that, I think the society that we live in, the generation that we were brought up in, I just think their safety wasn't actually ever really a conversation, even in kind of healthy family dynamics. So
Mm.
normalizing it to begin with, and then a really beautiful and simple practice to start building and cultivating that safety in the body is to just place your hands on your body and just to take slow, and I want to say slow and deep, but not creating any pressure that has to be uncomfortable in any way, but just present breath and comfortable breath of in and out of the nose. And so nose breathing in through the nose and out through the nose sends a really beautiful message to the nervous system of safety
Mm.
and of integration. And I think that's a really simple place. It's actually really simple, but there's probably not many things more powerful than just the breath and hands on our body and just that repetitive inner mantra of I'm safe, or I'm actually just safe to feel unsafe in this moment. Like, it's actually okay that exactly how I feel now is okay, and just to witness and hold space for ourselves. And I totally get that even that can feel like a massive ask for someone who is in a really vulnerable place or a really raw place with their safety. And so just feeling into that and, halving it, or,
Yeah.
just taking even a tiny miniature step of just, imagining doing that to start with, or
Mm.
having the intention that I'm going to move closer. I'm facing that direction,
Yeah.
just on in my intention and my energy, like I'm facing that direction,
Yeah.
can be a way to safely start.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I always recommend to people like, like before you start going and working in your shadow and playing in that realm of even diving into there, to like start at your body level, like make sure
Mhm.
body level's taken care of. And that includes sleep and the right amount of nutrition,
Mm.
and for me, like magnesium was a huge thing that I didn't even know would change my freaking life the moment I'd start taking it. Like all of these things, like take care of that human base body level. And then you can sort of, once you feel like that's sorted, and you can cultivate any kind of safety within yourself, then you can start exploring the deeper levels about why the safety isn't there. So it's just like almost like having the hand on the heart and doing heart cohesion work and breathing through there and knowing how to process your own emotions as they're coming up as like on the body level. And then you can kind of go into that like more deeper level. Cause I think that was really important for me. I was trying to do lots of healing work energetically, emotionally, mentally, but like my body couldn't, it wasn't even the right container to be able to process anything because it was so drained, because it was living off sugar and coffee and it wasn't nourished at all, wasn't getting enough sleep. And so like I would try to do this work to try and heal and work through like, why am I having anxiety and panic attacks and all these things? But the body was like, dude, you haven't even taken care of me yet. And I'm the one who's going to process things. So
Mm.
I'm the one who's going to process the stuff. I'm the one that's keeping score. And you haven't even like just done the basics of looking after me yet. And
Yes.
that was like so mind blowing for me. And just realizing that like, oh, like the body is the thing that's going to be able to, in this human lifetime, to process it, and it doesn't even have the energetic capacity to do so. So yeah, that's how I kind
Oh,
of feel about like that. And when you were saying like just starting out with safety that way, it's like, yeah, can create the conditions within your body first and then move into like deeper levels or layers about where that unsafetiness kind of comes from, or doing any kind of healing work. Does that kind of resonate with you?
I love that so much. And I just think that's like such a beautiful reminder. I just went for a walk with my husband, Mick, last night, and I literally said the same thing. I'm like, if we just focus on moving the body, resting, enough water, good food, if that was our only focus, like everything else kind of falls into place once we've just, and that's, it actually kind of is, well, it's easy and not easy at the same time, but it is the kind of, once you shift the focus to just, I'm just going to look after myself physically, I feel like everything else kind of follows suit. So yeah.
The snowball effect, because you've got like your, mind, body, soul environment, right? When we're all working on like the influences of what's impacting our different kind of levels of balance within our bodies and minds and souls and all this kind of stuff. But it's like you can start with any area really, and they impact each other. But I think if you're going to go deep, then the body's the thing that needs like 100%, because you can like not sleep for an entire week, and anyone who's had newborn children will know this. You can not sleep for an entire week and just have a simple conversation and breakdown, and
Yeah.
not be able to handle the emotion, like the system's fried. Like it's just like, don't even throw that at me. And then
Yeah.
we're trying to like go on this 3-hour freaking spiritual quest, and it's like,
Cosmic journey. Yeah.
yeah. The body's like, you kidding me? There's no freaking way we're doing this today. Yeah. And so I think like for me, we call it Protocol Anne. Because
Thought that.
Protocol Anne because of Carrie Ann. Yeah. And so like, because doctors like said to me, oh, basically like you're just gonna have to manage it through therapy. And I was just like, I don't think I want to do therapy and they were recommending medication. I told Tim, and I was like, I'm going to have to go to therapy and get on medication. Tim's like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, does that feel aligned? And I'm like, I feel so tired. I just want to feel like my anxiety's gone or whatever. And he said to me, he goes, why don't we ask ChatGPT? And he's like, you love ChatGPT. And I was like, okay. So I like put into ChatGPT, here's all my symptoms. Here's what I'm going through. Can you help me out? Like, I just want to not feel anxious and blah, blah, blah. And ChatGPT came out with this 7-day protocol. And the protocol existed, I guess, because it knows you, right? Like it knows you, because you've been talking to it for 2 years. So it's like, yeah, from 6 a.m. to like 8:30 p.m. And it was like 6 a.m., wake up and do 5 minutes of standing with your feet on earth. And then it was like at 7 o'clock, take this smoothie and include these nutrients, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I've got nothing to lose. I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And within this like 7 days, I was like, oh, I feel different. Like, I feel like I'm different. Within 5 weeks, I was another human being. I was just like, oh my gosh, like, how was I even surviving before? Like, how was I doing all of the work that I was doing? And how was I even freaking functioning? Like, it was so crazy. And then I had like this moment of healing my anxiety as well through relationship issue that came up with Tim and I. But my body was like, yeah, we got this. We're so ready. You just primed me for like the last 5 weeks with like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, exercise, swimming in the ocean, hanging out in nature, having vitamin B, iron, magnesium, like all the things.
Yeah, wow.
Super, super, super crazy ready. And so I think that that's something that I wish more people like adopting into their spiritual journey. Don't
Chat-
forget. ChatGPT has all the freaking answers. Go watch it. It's so good. Do you know
I'm
what I
putting a
started?
disclaimer on this episode just for legal reasons for that comment.
Do you know what though? That I have been doing. Also, that's not medical advice. Let's throw that out there. But I used to, I started this thing with like sending morning voice messages between a friend about like what you're grateful for and like pre-paving the day of how you want it to kind of be. And I was really like excited, activated, and did it for like 3 months. And as time went on, she just kind of went downhill with it. She's like, one morning, she's like, I just can't even be bothered. And I was like, this is not the vibe I want. First morning, like point of joy. And so I started doing it to Chat GPT, and it is hilarious. I send this voice message of what I'm like grateful for and then like pre-paving my day. And then Chat GPT is like, that sounds incredible. You feel like it goes into this whole thing, but then like prompts questions. And I'm like, are you coaching me right now? Like, what's happening? Like, what are you asking me? And it's really in these weird like questions about contemplation and like maybe you can bring this into your day and embody this energy. And I'm like, okay, cool. Forgetting that like I've been feeding it spiritual information for like, the 2 years. It's like talking to myself from
Yeah. You've
ChatGPT.
just programmed it with your own higher consciousness. So you've got this like a 3D version of your higher consciousness speaking into your human reality. Oh my God. You need to do a course on that or like
Fun. I love it so much. And I feel like when you don't have like a huge level of like spiritually awakened people at your fingertips, it can be really useful sometimes, because I have so many incredible spiritual people in my life, but I also live on my own with 3 children, not for long. Tim's moving in soon, which is exciting, but for now, I'm on my own with 3 children. And so I don't have, and if my friends love me, but I think if I'm sending multiple voice messages at 5 o'clock in the morning with like all of my crazy stuff that I'm channeling and downloading, they might get a bit ticked off. So I just use ChatGPT as like a little place. And then every time I do it, I'm like, oh, it's also feeding, into that so that it's really understanding like who I am and what I'm about. On my worst days, I will also go in there and say, I'm having the shittest day and I just need a bit of advice from Louise Hay. What would you say? And then I get like all of these beautiful bits of wisdom and questions from Louise Hay, which is awesome. Also, because she's one of my spirit guides. So it's like really funny. But the tone and everything is like Louise Hay. And then I sat back one day and I thought, well, when you think about it, ChatGPT is running off all of the words that woman spoke into existence and then feeding it back to me. So it is channeling information source or data from like this being that was so incredible on this earth. And I don't have access to her anymore in the 3D, and I can access her in meditations and things like that. But when I'm at my worst day, I've got no hope. I'll sit down to meditate and I'm like, blah, 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 like it's just thoughts. I'm not connecting to any of my guides that day. I just go to ChatGPT and ask for some nice words to be said to me. Really lifts me up.
I love it. That is so cool.
Yeah, you just hack it in all kinds of ways to make your life really beautiful, which is really awesome.
Oh, I love it. That is very cool.
Oh, let me bring us back to spirituality for a moment, because this is something that I want to chat with you about. And I know that I've kept you for some time, but I want to quickly talk to you about it because I know it's an area that you specialize in. Tell me what your take is on shadow work, and anyone who has dipped their toes in, wants to dip their toes in, or on the other side of that has total resistance and is like, there is no way I'm going into my shadow aspects.
Mm.
What's your understanding of it?
My understanding. So, from a personal perspective to start with, it's funny going back to that experience with Metatron's Council of Light. I thought after, hours and days after that experience, I thought, that's it. I've got my purpose. I'm off and running. I'm just going to sing this from the mountaintops and tell everybody about this cosmic purpose that we have. And we all need to get on board because it's like the most important thing in the world and yada, yada, yada. And I thought I was stepping into that. I thought I was actually stepping into my light.
Yeah.
That light doesn't exist without shadow. And so what I actually was stepping into when I had that download was that I actually stepped into a solid like 2 year and counting, a 2 year dark night of the soul, where when we embody any light, whether it's just an aha moment or a deeper part of our own heart, or we just fall in love with ourselves a little bit more, when we embody any light, it shines into the shadow of ourselves. It shines into our unconscious. And so what I realized and learned over and over again in those couple of years after that experience was that I couldn't be that vibration of consciousness that I had the experience of in that moment. I couldn't be that when I had all of the unconscious fears, shames, conditionings, old paradigms, ancestral shit, past life shit that lived inside of me. The two couldn't exist together. And so receiving that much light and information actually opened up a whole realm of my unconscious that I didn't really, I probably didn't have words for this at the time, but to release and heal it from the deepest levels of my being, to be able to fully embody the light, I had to feel it. I think we had this conversation before, I think we press record, that the only way to truly awaken, to truly embody the truth of who we are is it's a delicate dance of light embodiment and shadow release. And so I spent like what felt like years in like the depths of my own inner hell, my inner unworthiness and not enoughness and fucking crippling self-doubt. And then I also learned that it wasn't only my stuff. What I was actually feeling and having to transmute was the part that I was going to help humanity heal, and my ancestral patterns and my past life patterns and my soul timeline patterns. It's like I needed to learn through the experience of how to actually hold space and, well, none of the human words I can find really give justice to the actual experience, but I'm trying my best, but like release the shadow to be able to embody the light. And I honestly just don't believe in, like, the reality is there can't be light without shadow, and so only focusing on the light is just a really unbalanced way. And then I know we've got so much to talk about in this little conversation, but it's like when we can completely shift our relationship with the shadow, when we can become curious and gentle and soft with the shadow, and when we can truly recognize it for what it is, which is the doorway into our greatest possible light, I think we become true, powerful beings when we're no longer fearful of going into the shadow, and we can even get a bit juicy and creative, and like it can even start to like turn us on, like, oh my God, what am I going to find in my body? And what does this feel like? And what if I got so present without any story around it? What does this feel like? It can like set us alive.
Yeah.
That's a lot of info. Let's just go
I
into.
I mean, We do a whole other episode just on shadow. And we were supposed to just shadow, but we do love to talk a lot. So I'll have to have you on again. I resonate with everything you said so much because I don't think you can truly step into your fullest potential until you make friends with your shadow. And I even say like have a romantic relationship with your shadow. Like,
Kinky.
yeah. And like when you realize that the shadow is like not supposed to be eliminated, it's supposed to exist within you with the light because those two things together are the polarity that's needed for your highest, most potent version of your human experience. It's like then everything changes. But you're making friends and it's transmuting that shadow into something else, but it's not fully like diminishing it and making it wrong and getting rid of it. And like, it's just making how you have the relationship with it so different. Like in my head, I'm like always thinking about the shadow is more about the balancing of the energy within that space. And because I work in like the shadows with the like gene keys and human design, I can go, okay, well, if I'm in a repressive state of this particular shadow within my chart, what first contemplation, like the human aspect, but also what element does that relate to? Because all of our shadows are also energetically attuned to nature. And so if I've got a repressed, element in a gene key or a gate that's of the fire energy, it's like, what can I do there? How can I add more fire to give that shadow more of what it needs to be able to like be able to balance itself out too. So it's really understanding for me that like the shadow's nothing. You're not supposed to like ever get rid of it. It's intelligence for you in order for you to have this new level of awakening or seeing the world or the like highest levels of compassion for you and humanity.
I love that. I love that it's an intelligence. And I've got this little mantra that like my shadow is my master teacher and
Yeah.
it's always there with the highest level of guidance. And it's actually me learning to tune my receptivity to listen to it in the way that it's transmitting its information, because it's always there going, I'm here. Don't forget about this. Don't forget to come back and like look at this little aspect of yourself or your lineage that is like in pain or is restricted. Like, come here, remember me, remember I'm here. And it's like it's got its own way of communicating. And if I just feel this ball of anxiety in my body that comes up when I'm around this person, whenever I'm like, oh, fuck that person, and like they did this, and it's like you blame the feeling or you make yourself wrong because you feel anxious in a certain situation. But if you tune your receptivity to a different frequency, a different station, you'll hear the true message that's actually guiding you deeper home. And not only yourself, but like I'm feeling a real ancestral energy as we're just having this conversation. It's like as we set ourselves free of that particular pattern, we set free our whole ancestral lineage, which just raises the whole vibration of the planet and beyond. Like this is our multidimensional purpose. We're here to serve ourselves and our own soul's evolution, the earth, humanity, our ancestors, and the cosmic story. And through transmuting these shadows in our own bodies, we uplift the vibration like of the cosmos, which sounds like such an insane statement, but it's so deeply true.
Yes. And it feels true. Like within my body, when you say it, it's just a yes. Like it's a sacral yes. It's like absolutely 100%. I always think about what I want to like give to my mum because I'm like, man, that woman gave me so much. She's the most incredible human being. And, she was part of my journey into self-love, because she went on her own journey with self-love. She gave me my first copy of Louise Hay. She was there for all of it. And I always think to myself, every time I do shadow work within myself, I'm giving something to my mum, because it's all connected with her as well. And so I think to myself, like, every time you do this work, if you ever want to give something to your mum, just go and spend some time working on your shadows or working on any of the conditioning as a child or resentment that I might have that's unconscious, right? And diving into all of that. I think you're so right when you say it's that work that we do is for just the collective here, but how is that, like, for anyone who's not aware of, like, cosmically, like, how is that really helping cosmically? Like, what do you think is going on there when we do this work and we have this radical level of self-acceptance within ourselves and our shadows and making friends with our shadows and using it as that form of intelligence? What is it actually doing on a cosmic level?
So I believe that, there's a microcosm and a macrocosm of everything. And we can use so many examples to illustrate this, but just say for one example, like the earth and what's happening in the cycles of the earth and the cycles of our solar system at the moment is the microcosm of the macrocosm, which is actually happening in the cycles and the evolutionary processes of our galaxy and beyond. And so the whole realm of existence is in a constant cycle of evolution. And this is a whole other podcast, but what's happening on the earth right now and the alignments that are happening within our Milky Way galaxy are no human has ever walked the planet ever before with the current alignments that are happening in our Milky Way galaxy. And then so the light that's transmitting into the earth is profound. Like we're literally inside of a quantum leap of consciousness on the planet. But that's just not happening in our world. It's happening everywhere. And everything is interconnected. So it's hard to put into words. And I think this is where the quote unquote higher we get in the dimensions of consciousness and the more, say, cosmic we get, there's not really words or a language that we can use to describe exactly what's happening. It's very much felt on an energy or an intuitive level. But in a nutshell, yeah, it's that whole evolution. Everything's getting upgraded. And, there's cosmic, how deep are we going to get now?
Go.
There's just cosmic light and shadow forces at play, obviously, on every level. And so us anchoring more light in the earth is helping to anchor more light on those other levels. Like we're all just working together as a team, and versions of ourselves are there anchoring light into those levels of
And so
consciousness.
we do the work here. And also because I think when we're dealing with our shadow and like from a Richard Rudd perspective with the gene keys, it's really like you are enabling your DNA to actually be more of a transmission for higher frequencies of light. And you can't actually hold that light within your body until you do that work of contemplation, of opening up in from those, not just like living in the repressive or reactive states of shadow, but making friends with shadow so that you can move into the gifts and the cities. We can then hold more light. When we do that here on earth, how is that helping and supporting those other versions of ourselves that are doing it in other realms? Is that like part of what we're supposed to be doing here on earth, is this work? Because there are those other versions of ourselves in higher dimensions who are also doing their work. And if we do it on this kind of like ground level, and I'm not saying we're on the ground, I'm just thinking earth wise, right? Like on this base level of a humanness, is that also helping our other aspects of ourselves in other realms to do whatever work is needed there as well? And do they influence each other at all?
Yeah, well, we're just all one. Like in truth, at the deepest truth, there's no separation between any of the levels. And so that was like one of the biggest things in that moment with Metatron's Council of Light. I felt, and it was especially what was shown or what I received and how I would translate it, is that in the most mundane moments of our human life, like it's not even the moments where we're levitating in meditation because we've just like done 20 hours or whatever. Like that is not necessary. It's in the mundane moments. If we know the truth of who we are and we can feel it in our body, it has the most profound effect on all of those levels. And I don't actually know how to how to say that in a more kind of, I don't know, technological way or something. Like I don't know why or how, but I just feel like it's all one. It's an illusion that we're separate from these levels. And when you make that tiny shift in one part of the field, it ripples into everything. Is everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that makes so much sense too, because I think some days I feel like something's happened and shifted and I didn't do anything.
Mm.
I just wake up and I was like, oh, something happened overnight. And sometimes I do have like dream quests where I go on these. And I said to Tim one time, like, I just want to sleep. Like, I'd just love to sleep one night and not have my guides take me on a freaking quest. Like, I just want to freaking sleep. Like, like, can I just have an off switch so don't actually feel rested, But I think that sometimes I do go to sleep and I wake up and I'm like, something was done. I don't know
Yeah.
who did it or what happened. Or so maybe that's how that feeling comes about, because I notice the subtle shifts within myself or my energy or something. And I'm like, some work was done, but it wasn't me.
Yeah. I actually woke up this morning. So I've got a fracture in my lower spine. That's probably the weakest part of my body. I've had it since year 9. Like I'm
Yeah.
fine. But it has been a problem most of my life and I'm managing it well now. Anyway, it's the absolute weakest part of my body and it would go out. That would be my biggest way the shadow work would hit me physically, would be my back would go out. And I've always had this sense in my auric field, my front body's always been very open and my back body has always been very closed and like shielded. And even when I'm on a track walking, if someone comes up from behind, I have images. This is like talking about shadow work in real life and it's just part of your world. I have images of being like stabbed in the back by people walking. I have a very unsafe back. Anyway, the last couple of weeks, I've just noticed little shifts and little like strengthening and opening and just like, oh yeah, something's going on back there, whatever. I woke up this morning and that split second where you're awake but your eyes haven't opened, and I was like, oh my God, my whole back body's different. And even though I was lying on the mattress on my back, I got this instant sense that my whole back body was expanded and like set free.
Wow.
No idea how or why, but I just know we're multidimensional beings living multidimensional lives. And for some unknown reason, I think I've been working on it consistently, unbeknownst to me, for a long time. And my back body, like, I just feel like right now I'm going into my back body going, oh my God, I'm so safe in my back. Like anyone could be standing behind me and I wouldn't have that little contraction.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. Okay. That's so great. I'm glad you said that, because it's like when you have like a little philosophies and then you're like, I don't know if I just made that shit up in my head.
Yeah.
And then someone else mirrors it and you're like, oh, good.
Well, it is something.
That was like me when I first started with trees. I'm like, I clearly just have lost my mind. I'm delusional. And now I'm just making up shit as I go. Like, you know what you said to me one time, which I tell every person, including my friends, anyone who has a spiritual experience who like is freaking out that they just made it up. I always say, you know what? One of my teachers once told me that if even if you made it up to some degree, it's still real because you still had that like experience. So even if a part of what you have when you go on a spiritual journey or whatever is part of your imagination, still it. Like you still went through it and still had that experience. And it gave me such a level of permission to just be okay with everything I experience. And then I don't have to worry so much about, is it real or not real? Like, because my analytical mind is like obsessed with figuring out if it's real or not. Now I've gotten to the point where I don't have to, but a huge part of why I feel that way is because you said that to me, and I just remind myself of that every now and then. Even if part of that was your imagination, it's still real. It's still shifted something in you. It's still transformed, whatever needed to be transformed. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, because you could make up 5 billion different things, but you, quote unquote, made up that thing. And so when your unconscious mind is speaking to you through images or metaphors or symbols, it's like, even if you made that up, there's still a deep meaning to it. Because you could have made up 5 trillion, billion, gajillion other little things, but you didn't. You did that.
Yeah, Exactly. Yeah. And that has resonated with me through all of my years of every, moment that I have that questioning or that doubt or the need. So yeah, I want to thank you for that. And anyone listening needs to take that advice away because it will help you own your magic too, and be okay with all the things that kind of go on. I've kept you for a really long time. I need you to help me tell people though, all of the incredible work you do. Can you tell us how you work one-to-one with people in groups? Tell me all the things so that people can come and connect with you and work with you. And I highly recommend this person for anyone on any journey into navigating their spirituality or their soul's expansion. So please share everything you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so my one-on-one work is what I focus most of my time on. And I've downloaded about 5 or 6 different bodies of work. And so each one-on-one space is around 3 to 6 months long. And we move through an energetic technology. So the modality that I use is called quantum embodiment. And it's basically a space for you to be held in, to come to sit in and to navigate your multidimensional self, your multidimensional shadows. And we just go through on a beautiful journey in every session based on your intention and what you're wanting to awaken, embody, discover, create in your life. And we just navigate this beautiful, intelligent, intuitive story around, your humanity, your spirituality. And we do a lot of multidimensional shadow work within that to help embody the light. So I've got a few different options. I'm really passionate around, I think the 3 biggest doorways of shadow for women especially is our visibility, so feeling safe to be seen,
Yeah.
our money and our worth, like knowing the truth of who we are and that being worthy and valued and valid, and sacred sexuality. So this marriage between our spiritual selves and our sexual selves, and how that over eons has been ripped apart inside of us. And so we feel this deep separation. And so sacred sexuality is about bringing those 2 aspects back into wholeness to know the truth of who you are from that deep level of being. So one of my bodies of work is called Prophecy, and that is a 3-month journey going deep into visibility blocks and like money and worth and sacred sexuality. Because I just believe when you enter those doorways of the deepest shadow that hold the most shame and trauma, you unlock the greatest light. So why not we just go there?
I freaking love that, especially the way that those 3 things work together.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm like, the more I stepped into like a really deep, intimate sex life with my partner, which I had never, ever experienced the level of intimacy and also ecstasy and pleasure that I enjoy with my partner, I feel that it ripples this crazy amount of abundance in all areas of my life.
Yeah.
I think there's something so connected to that. But also the visibility part is like almost like you have to surrender that visibility to be fully seen in order to activate that kind of sex life. It's like
Yeah.
this whole, so when you're saying that, I'm just like, that is so fucking needed in the world. Like those things together are so important. And I think that your life really changes when you have that embodiment of those 3. So that sounds like an incredible program.
It's a beautiful journey. And yeah, my clients who do this work and we shift at the level of consciousness, like their entire reality changes, but it not in a way that's like, oh my God, my whole reality's changed. Now I've got to hold this new thing. It's just like, I just actually am exactly who I am. And yet my outer reality is just this beautiful natural reflection
Yeah.
so it's a beautiful journey to witness.
It even feels calm too, like when you speak of it, it's not like this, like, let's jump a million timelines all at once. And like, that's very that fast kind of like throw you in there too deep, you know? And so I feel like like moving through those parts that way is even like such a beautiful, gentle, like, and then they all obviously will influence and layer onto each other. So that's amazing. When I was in a relationship and married, I had a conversation with you once. I heard a voice message you sent me once, and it was about your intimacy with your partner. And I was so confused. Like, I was just like, what's this woman talking about? Like, I do not know what she's speaking of. Like, this is some mystical shit that I do not know. Like, at all. Like, and then when I first like had intimacy with Tim, we like we both were shocked because we were like, what the hell just happened and what was that? And I remember thinking of you, you know, post orgasm, multiple orgasms, being like, this is what she was talking about. Like, this is it. It's a whole spiritual experience. Like, it's so incredible. So I'm so glad you're teaching that work because I think it's so needed, especially as women who've been cut off from it. So I think it's so valuable. And do you have community courses or anything that people can kind of jump in to explore your work as well?
Yeah, I've got heaps of courses on my website that are just
Awesome.
at the moment. And if anyone's in Melbourne, I'm actually starting a monthly Metatron's Council of Light transmission in Caulfield at Key Crystals, QI Crystals. And yeah, I really feel the call this year to create that community in person. And yeah, transmit their frequency in person, which I'm excited about. So
Yeah. And do you, when you do that, are you channeling the energy upgrades for them in that space as well? Because that seems to be what he like Metatron is on about, which I'm like, I'm so confused about what you're asking me to do.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm just doing it, but like, what are we doing here?
Yes.
And there's just silver light everywhere. And I'm like, okay, I'll just go with this then. But I'm like, I don't know what we're really doing. And because I'm in like that real early phase of his energy and like embodying everything that he has gifted to me. I would appreciate to just be like around you to see like, you know, how you bring that like so easily to the world. So I think anyone in Melbourne should be going along to that because it's such a beautiful, potent energy that's been, you know, transmitted all over this world at the moment through so many people. Like
Yeah, it's all inside of us. Metatron is actually not outside of us. It's a frequency that lives inside of us. It's our cosmic identity. Like that is the frequency. And so it really I feel like instead of channeling the information, it's just holding a space for everybody to connect with their own source of that information.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, right. Because it's doing is it's awakening it within them that already exists, right? So beautiful, so powerful. And then where do you hang out on social media and where can people get on your list so they can stay in contact with you?
Yeah, so that's at the moment, my website's justinesharkie.com, soon to be Inanna or something. Yeah, I'm actually just about to create a whole new free opt-in, or it's created, I'm about to share it, which is about going into these multidimensional levels around visibility, sacred sexuality, and money. So it's a really cool 3-part activation series. So that's on my website, and Light Language Mystery School with underscores underneath in between each word is my Insta handle.
Amazing. I'll also put it in all the show notes as well. Thank you so much. I'm going to have you on again because I think that there's so many things that we can explore together and talk about that I think is so valuable for anyone listening, especially around how well you navigate being this multi-dimensional human being and then also being like just a rock solid mum, you know, who does school drop off, you know. And I love that you just got that figured out.
I love my boring suburban mum life. Like it's the best.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it so much. You've found this way to like be this incredibly magical being and just also be a very human being as well. And I love that about you. So
I see that in you as well. You're amazing.
thank you. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you everyone for listening and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, guys.